Hello students, my name is Dr. Praveen Tripathi. I am the Faculty of Psychiatry and the author of the book Review of Psychiatry. Now, today the things that I am going to talk about are extremely important. In the last few days and few weeks, I have been getting many queries from students across the country, and the question is the same: how to go about their preparation, what to do to clear the NEET 2020 exam now that only 4.5 months are left. So I thought that let me put my thoughts together into a video so that everybody can get benefited. So students, as of now, only 4.5 months are left. What should we do? Now the first thing that you must do is to sit down and assess the level of your preparation. There can be no planning without knowing where do we stand as of now, as on today. So the first step would be assess the level of your preparation. Now, once you assess your level of preparation, once you see that how many subjects have you covered and how many subjects are you strong in, what are your weak points, after taking all these things into consideration, you will find that you would fall into one of the three groups. What are these three groups? The group one is of those students who have already finished the first reading of the subjects, the entire course, and that too in a good manner. What do I mean by a good manner? If you have completed the first reading and if you are able to get good marks on the grand test, you are able to recall the things that you remembered or the things you memorized. If all these things are happening, then you can say that you are in the group A or group 1 of the students. The second group of the students includes those students who have finished around 2/3 of the course at least. So they have finished at least 2/3 of the course, and in these 2/3 of the subjects, their recall and the memory about the topics is pretty good. So they are able to answer most of the questions when they are asked from these subjects or these topics. Again, if you have finished the entire course, but you are not able to answer most of the questions from these subjects, then also put yourself into group 2 or group B. And then there is the group 3. It includes those students who are still struggling, who have finished like half of the subjects or not even half of the subjects, or students who have just started. All of these would be clubbed into group 3. Now the most important thing is whether you belong to group 1, group 2 or group 3. One thing is for sure, that you can still clear the NEET 2020 exam. There is no doubt about it. So whether you are a group 1 student who has already finished the reading and who is feeling pretty confident, good job. Continue doing what you are doing, because it appears that you have been able to pace your preparation pretty well. Whatever institute you are following, whatever books you are following, whatever videos you are following, just stick to them and revise them. No need to do anything new. But if you are into group 2 and group 3, it is extremely important to remember that still you have enough time and there is no need to feel demotivated. So that brings us to the very important question, that can we really do it? Can it really be done? What is a realistic answer? So if we try to be realistic and if we try to say that, look, there are 19 subjects and some of them are big, humongous subjects, and just 4.5 months, and you have to cover all the subjects in details from cover to cover, can it be done? The answer would have been no. But that is not the real picture. Why? The real picture says something very different. There are 19 subjects, but you don't have to read cover to cover. All the entrance examinations, whether it is NEET, whether it is AIMS, whether it is PGI, all of them like to talk about certain topics. They like to ask questions from certain topics, and there are other topics which may be as big, but they are not tested at all. Right? So this is what we mean when we say that during preparation of an entrance examination, all the chapters and all the topics are not equals. Some topics are important, some are less important. Some are tested every year, some are tested once in 10 years. So the 19 subjects, the humongous amount of study material that you have to cover, gets kind of decreased to or concentrated into still enough study material, but something that can be taken care of. Whenever the faculties sit down and look at the pattern of the papers, all of us come to the same conclusion, that there are certain chapters and topics that are asked again and again, and then there are topics which are never asked. So the fact that no entrance exam is talking about the entire course makes the preparation easier and doable. So the first thing that I want to stress upon is you don't have to cover everything. If you cover the important things, that would be great. Let us talk about the second fact. Let us talk about the number or the percentages of questions that you must do correctly to get selected. Now, these are some of the facts that I was able to dig. If you want to get a rank under 5,000 in NEET exam, you need to get a score of around 60%. In some years it is 55%, in other years it is 65%, but more or less around 60% of questions, if done correctly, it gets your rank under 5,000. If you are able to perform slightly better, say you go to around 62.5%, now your rank improves to under 3,000. And in case you are able to go to 65% or 70%, you get pushed under a rank of 500. So this is a very important statistic. Just 60% to 70% of questions, if you get them correct, you are able to get a very good rank, a very marvelous rank. So we know two things. Out of the entire subject, not all the topics are important, and we need to get only 2/3 to 3/4 of the questions correct to get a marvelous great rank. So what does it mean for you? It means that it is doable. So now that we have established that it is doable, how to go about it? Now, it is doable, but not simple, right? There is a difference between being able to do something and actually doing it. The first thing that you must do is to commit yourself to the preparation. If you are a group 2 or a group 3 student, and if you are having doubts in your mind, can it be done? Some of the students must be thinking that already 8 months are gone, just 4.5 months are left, I will do it the next year. If you are having this thought in your mind, just throw away this thought into the dustbin. 4.5 months are enough and you can do it. I want you to stand in front of the mirror and say to yourself that it can be done and I will do it. Unless you get into that mode that I will do it, it has to be done, no matter what happens, I will do it, you would not be able to achieve success. So the first thing that you must remember is it can be done, but more importantly, you will do it. Students, remember, there are two futures waiting for you. In one of those futures, you are sitting in a swanky office in a big corporate hospital, wearing that beautiful lab coat and the stethoscope. You are a specialist doctor, a super specialist doctor, and people are standing outside or sitting outside waiting for your consultation. And then there is second future in which you are working in an emergency, writing paracetamol and cetirizine and referring the patients to other specialists. Which of these futures do you want for yourself? Do you want to become that respected doctor who runs the show, or do you want to be that bystander whose only work is to refer the patients to the specialist? What you do in these 4.5 months will determine or will decide which of these doctors are you going to become. So if you have that much craving in yourself, that much hunger in yourself, that much desire to become successful, you will stand in front of the mirror and you will say that it can be done and I will do it. It is not just any other exam. It is not a board exam. It is not a professional exam. It is the exam that is going to decide your future. It is the exam that will make it or break it for you. So this is the time to put your best foot forward. This is the time to show to everybody and to yourself what you are capable of. So pump yourself. This is something that needs to be done. Commit to yourself and commit to everybody that you will do it. Once you have done, remember that there is no substitute to hard work, hard work, hard work. You have to work hard. You have to work so hard that you surprise yourself that I never knew I could work this hard. Students, medical students are different. Most of the people of your age, youngsters, they go to bed and they feel the happiest when they had fun that day. People feel happiest when they go on a date or when they play a game or when they meet friends. But when does a medical student feel the happiest? He feels the happiest when he knows that he has used the day. When you study for 11 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, and after that much of hard work, when you go to your bed and when you close your eyes, there is a smile on your face, that smile of satisfaction. And you know it. Nothing can make you more happy than the hard work. And in this exam, which is going to break it or make it for you, hard work has got no substitute. You will have to study for at least 10 hours a day. Anything less than that would be not worth it. At least 10 hours a day must be given to the preparation. And we keep on saying that every week keep a day off. But now that the exam is staring us in the face, you cannot spare more than one day in every 10 days for a gap. So one day out of 10 days must be used as a gap day, and I would strongly advise that you take one day gap in every 10 days, otherwise there is a high risk of burning out. So if we follow this, if you are using 9 days out of 10 days for our studies, and if you are studying for 10 hours a day, how much time do we have? Do simple mathematics. 140 days are left. We are going to take 15 days, around 15 days as breaks. So we are effectively left with 125 days. And multiply it with 10 hours a day, it makes 1250 hours. Now you have got 1250 hours to give the direction to your life. This is the resource that you have in your hands, and you have to use it very wisely. And here comes even the more important aspect. Hard work is absolutely necessary, but what is even more important is smart work, and smart work. You have to use 1250 hours in such a way that you are able to hold a good, you have to create a good hold on your 19 subjects so that you are able to answer most of the questions which are asked in the exams. Now let's talk about specifics. When I say that we have got 125 days left, I want you to divide it into 3 different slots. The first 65 days would be used to finish the first reading, and this first reading has to be a good first reading. By first reading, I mean once you are done with the first reading, you are able to answer at least 70-75% of the questions based on that first read only. This is absolutely necessary. There are no substitutes for this. But after the 65 days, you must have at least 2 revisions. Anything less than 2 revisions would be very difficult. So we have to ensure a good first read and at least 2 revisions. Now, what are the tools for preparation? This is all good, right? Everything looks good, but how do we do it? So for most of the students, what are the tools that we have? We have got videos and live classes. Now, videos. A lot of students are nowadays enrolled in the online institutes who are providing videos. The way the video is seen is extremely important. See, you are not watching a movie here. You are not watching a TV series here. The videos that you are seeing should be seen in a perfect manner. And by perfect, I mean once you are done with the topic, you should have grasped it properly. You should have been able to understand it properly. Many students I see, they watch videos at 2x speed. Now, I don't really understand that. Now, while I would agree that there are few students who have such great concentration that even at 2x speed, they are able to grasp all the concepts. But more often than not, what I see is a student is trying to watch the videos at 2x speed, and he watches 5 minutes. The teacher is speaking very rapidly. Although he listens to it, but he is not able to understand it. The information does not percolate down. And then he pauses, again goes back, again watches it. Effectively, you end up wasting more time than what you would have spent if you were watching it at a normal speed. So I believe for most of the students, increasing the speed to something like 2x does not work. Maybe 1.2x might work, but even that depends entirely upon you. So assess it again, whether by increasing the speed you are spending more time or less time. I would think that if you watch it at a normal speed, you would be able to finish the topic in a better way, and you would actually spend lesser time than watching it at 2x speed. classes, most of you must have attended live classes, whether in the institutes or whether in individual faculty, and they are great, right? I would not be going into that area because we cannot do much about the classes. So the first thing that we have established is videos must be watched properly. They are not a TV series or movies. We should ensure that we have understood everything. Now the good thing is most of the students who are watching videos, they also have the notes of the videos. So the time that you spend in making the notes, it has decreased substantially. So that further increases the value of the videos. Second thing, the questions. Now it is extremely important to have a great grasp on the questions that were asked in the last 2 to 3 years, because the questions that were asked in the last 2 to 3 years more often than not tell you the topics which are the favorites of the examiner, and believe me, these topics remain the same. Say if I am at Faculty of Psychiatry, somebody asked me 5 years back that from schizophrenia which question should be asked, probably I would have said from the management of schizophrenia. You ask me today the same thing, I in all likelihood would repeat my answer. There might be certain changes, but the topics that are tested in the exams more often than not remain the same. And the last 2 to 3 year questions give you those topics. But this is job half done. Apart from these 2 to 3 year questions, we must also remember that the questions which are being asked in the last 5 to 10 years or 5 to 7 years of the exams. Now students, a couple of years back, the trend was to give the same question again and again. Although even today, some questions get repeated, but the trend has changed slightly in the form that now the topics are repeated more often than the questions. But still, the fact remains the same that the topics from which the questions are being asked remain the same. Now, some students tend to use the question bank as the main plank of their study. They make it the main focus of their study and then go back and read about those topics. I am not a fan of that approach. The reason being, say you are watching a video, and say I'll take my subject, say you are watching a video of schizophrenia. Now when I teach schizophrenia, I would start with the history, I would go to the epidemiology, I will talk about the clinical features, I will talk about the diagnosis, I will go to the management and finish it off, right? This has a flow. Say you go in a retro manner, you are doing the questions only. The first question comes from the management of schizophrenia. You do the question, read the explanation, and you have learned something. Now the second question comes from the history of schizophrenia. Suddenly you are talking about the history. The third question again comes on a side effect. So you are kind of jumping from topic to topic. And sometimes these questions are not from the same topic. You start with the management of schizophrenia, then you go to the epidemiology of bipolar disorder. So that kind of breaks the continuity, and that kind of makes it difficult for you to make contacts or make connections in your own mind. So I am more comfortable when a student learns a video and then go to the questions, because once you have watched that video, answering those questions becomes very easy. But when you go the other way around, when you start with the questions and go back to the video, it takes more time and you're not able to connect the dots in your own mind. Apart from these, the grand test, extremely important, students. See, please remember, when you go to the examination center on the day of the exam, it's not only your preparation which matters. What also matters is your composure. How composed are you on that day? How anxious are you on that day? How well you perform under pressure on that day? And these things make kind of 20 to 25% of difference in the results. When you take grand test, you are putting yourself into the same situation again and again. So grand tests are extremely important, right? They kind of prepare you for the pressure of the final day exam. So grand tests, I cannot stress it more, they are extremely important. Now that we know the tools for the preparations, we need to use these, choose these tools very wisely. Say we talk about videos. We are saying that we have like 60 days to complete the videos. If you go for a video set which is 800 hours, 900 hours, 1200 hours, how would you finish it? You would never be able to finish that much. So I would suggest you that go for something which is crisp, which gives you what is required and which is high yield. Otherwise, do the math for yourself. How will you ever finish the course? Same goes for the question bank. See, as a student, we get very fascinated by big questions, new questions, questions from the topics which have not been tested. But dear students, the time is limited. if you have X amount of time, what do you want to invest that time on the questions that have been asked and which were likely to be asked, or on fancy questions which have never been asked and are unlikely to be asked. If you are in your second year of MBBS and preparing for the exam, I would say go for these fancy questions which have never been asked and which are giving you fancy details. But if you are a person who is serious about getting successful with 4.5 months in his hand, I would say that cut the fat, go for the real deal that will help you in clearing the exam. And similarly, when we talk about the last year questions, see, it is fashionable to say that I am doing something entirely different or very deep, but fashion does not give you success. What gives you success is time tested methods. Grand test, I would again say, extremely important. So you have to find a source which would give you the high yield content, the content that is likely to be asked in the exams, but most importantly, the content that you can finish. You can create great content, but when the students ask you how to finish it, you say just work hard. That is not a plan. That does not work. So students, how can we help? As a faculty of many coaching institutes, as a faculty of an online platform called PrepLadder, how can I help or how can we help? We were asked the same thing. A couple of months back, the management came to us and they asked us, we want to ensure that the students who have got just 5 months or 6 months, they are also able to clear the exam. The first question that was posed to us was, can it be done? And the 19 people said, yes, it can be done. We have seen so many students doing it over and over again that there is not an iota of doubt about whether it can be done. The answer is clear, yes, it can be done. The second question that was posed to us was, how to go about it? So what did we do? We sat down, we again took out the papers, we analyzed them, we looked at the pattern, and we again realized that what is being told to students for so many years remains correct even today. The topics, the chapters, the questions that are being asked tend to get asked from a certain part of the subject, and we can easily remove the non-essential part and finish the course in time. So what we did was, we created a course. We created a course which is a lean course, which is a mean course, which focuses on what you need to know and which hits the bullseye. We were able to reduce the duration of hours. We were able to cherry pick the important things and we were able to discard the unimportant things, and we came up with this plan. All the 19 subjects in the PrepLadder Rapid Revision course have been covered. You know all these faculties, legends in their own fields, and look at the number of hours, right? So we have been able to concisely provide you the high yield subjects. So if you put all these hours together, it will take like 170 hours. And out of these 170 hours of videos, I believe you can see them in somewhere around 200 to 250 hours, right? And when I say you can see them in 200 hours, I mean that you see them properly, to the extent that once you are done with the video, you know what that video was about and you are able to answer most of the questions that are being asked from that video. So we believe that these hours would be able to cover all the high yield topics and chapters. And as we saw a couple of minutes back, that high yield topics are what takes you across the finishing line. Apart from these, so I would say that this is the major or the base of the preparation, these videos, because they cover almost everything that you need to know. And then comes the questions. Of course, notes are there which would help you in decreasing the time required to finish these videos, but then comes the questions. Now again, I would strongly advise you that finish the videos and then go for questions. The time that you would take to finish this question would be decreased by 1/3. If you start with a question, doing a question and reading the explanation might take like 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes more than that, 5 minutes. But if you have seen the video, the same question can be attempted and the explanation read in less than 30 seconds. See the video, go for the explanation. Last 2-year exam questions, all the important exams, we have covered all those questions in videos. The question and the video explanation of these 2-year questions has been put so that you are abreast with all the important topics which are being asked in the last couple of years. And finally, you get to take at least 10 grand tests. Students, whether you take these grand tests or take grand tests from some other institute, I do not care. What I want is you do take the grand tests. These grand tests have been prepared after putting a lot of effort to ensure that they simulate the real test as much as possible. Taking a very tough test is not advisable. You end up getting 30%, 40%, 50%, you end up becoming demotivated. Taking a very simple test also does not help. You get 80% marks, but your level of preparation is not that good. So you have to take tests which very closely simulate the real exam. So students, in the end, I want to say this thing only, that 4.5 months is still enough time. And more importantly, these 4.5 months are going to decide your future, your destiny. Put the best effort that you can put in these 4.5 months, and believe you me, there is nobody who can stop you from achieving what you want to if you use these 125, 130 days properly. We would keep on making such videos, we would keep on trying to help you guys, and our main aim is to see that smile on your face, which would come on your face when you get the result that you have always dreamt of or desired of. Thank you students, God bless, and all the best for your exams.